Okay, and what we want to do in this video is continue on our study of the factors of production, remembering that production is wealth and the factors of production are those resources which are used to produce the wealth, the goods and services that you and I enjoy and consume, okay? So right now we're talking about capital. So like everything, now this is a crazy long definition, don't blame me, it's the IB that have defined this, but what is the definition of capital? It's the factor of production, we know that comes from investment in physical capital and human capital. Right? So we're going to talk about investment in the next video, but right now just realize investment is essentially making capital. Physical capital is the stock of manufactured resources, factories, roads, tools, and human capital is the value of the workforce improved through education and better healthcare. Now, there are many things, and I want you to understand that what I'm doing now is I'm providing an educational service. That is man-made, okay? I am making these videos, and they are hopefully adding to your human capital, increasing your ability to think and to understand the world. So, everything about capital is man-made. Now, while it doesn't have to be physically produced, and I agree it doesn't, it is produced by a human being, okay? So it's man-made, used in the production of goods and services. It's anything that was created by man and then, therefore, is used in the production of goods and services. I am recording this video on a Mac. I have a external microphone that I've hooked up. All of these are the end result of production processes that are used to produce further goods and services and therefore are capital goods. This is the Golden Gate Bridge in San Francisco. Yes, it's something physical, absolutely true. But it's used to produce the service of driving your car over it, okay? This is a solar power plant in China, and what they're doing is using these physical, man-made things, capital, in order to produce the service of providing electricity to some of its citizens. And again, all of these things are the end result of a production process which provide a good or service. Now this is something very important, and I'll go into an older example before I get onto the point about these two together, is that this is the labourer, the worker, the labour factor of production, and then this is the capital, and how well they combine with each other is very important and a distinguishing feature. But capital as an idea goes all the way back to even the Roman times, making aqueducts, which was used to something man-made, used to provide the service of bringing water to the people. Now pretty much all of these examples of capital I have given are physical capital, but don't forget education right now, which is supposedly what I'm providing you, is also an example of capital. I'm adding to your human ability. Now, a defining feature of capital is that it makes labour more efficient. Well, that's absolutely cracking, but what does efficiency mean? So again, another definition, you've got to learn it off, word perfect, make sure we do that. Efficiency is a quantifiable concept. It can be measured, determined by the ratio of useful output to total input. Now, what does that mean? Essentially, this is what it means. Efficiency is making the most stuff possible by using the least stuff possible. I'll say it again. Now, obviously, when you're talking about efficiency, you're writing this down, but efficiency is making the most stuff possible using the least stuff possible. The most output using the least input. The most consumer goods using the least factors of production. All right, now, of course, it can be capital goods as well, but still, we're not going to go into that yet. It's making the most and using the least of society's resources, which makes more of society's scarce resources available to other entrepreneurs. Okay, that's what efficiency is. So we've said that. So a defining feature of capital is that it makes labour more efficient. And yes, it does. Now, a simple example here is this gentleman trying to dig a hole using his hands. Now, maybe he's not in the photograph, but just for the sake of argument, we're claiming he is trying to dig a hole using his hands. Now, we've said efficiency is a measurable or quantifiable concept, and yes, it is. So how would we quantify it? Well, maybe meters cubed of earth removed. Now, how many meters cubed of earth could this guy remove with his bare hands? And I would hope you would agree with me that it would be very little. Now, therefore, if we gave this person more capital, a marginal unit of capital, an extra unit of capital, right? Now he's got a shovel. How much more could the same individual remove? How many more cubic meters of dirt could the same individual remove with this shovel as compared to with his hands? And I hope you would agree that it would have been more. So we went from zero capital to one piece of capital. Now we're sticking with one piece of capital, but don't forget it's not just the quantity, but the quality of capital. Now we have given this person a cat digger, and how much could they use with this piece of capital. So instead of increasing the quantity, we've increased the quality of capital. That is very important, guys, because what we are finding now with a higher degree or higher quality and higher quantity of capital, that labour is more efficient. The amount of output produced by that one worker with either greater quantities or quality of capital increases all the time as the quantity and or quality increases. And how are we measuring that? I think it was meters cubed. Okay, now there's a few quick categories of capital. Please don't get too concerned by this. I just want you to know them. One of them is fixed capital. It's the name given to stock of fixed assets. What is a fixed asset? Well, essentially it's something big and important and physical that will last a long time. So this is actually, now that's obviously not a real photo, but this is the new Apple building, and this is it being constructed. Okay, so there's the headquarters of Apple, I believe, and I obviously got obsessed and I put in far too many photos of it. But, something like factory buildings, big heavy machinery, something that will last a long time, essentially 30 years or so, but we're not too worried about it. Okay, so all of this stuff. Now, if you think that I'm losing my mind here, you may be correct, but maybe I'm not. Okay, because what we have here now is the idea of capital making labour more efficient. Essentially, human beings can become superheroes, because what was Iron Man's power? Okay, now, yes, he has that heart thing, but basically what his power was, he had incredibly advanced pieces of capital. Okay, now that's the idea, that capital can make human beings so efficient, so much better than what we were in terms of our capabilities, what we can do, that it can turn us into a superhero. Yes, I did lose my mind a little bit, but I'm back. Okay, now, still point is valid though. Working capital, okay, so it includes stocks. Now this is what I'm talking about. If something goes in the warehouse, something that the business can use, technically it's part of working capital, right? So it's stocks of raw materials. So if they have like iron ore or whatever, partly finished goods or finished goods. That is what working capital is. Essentially, it's anything you have in the warehouse. Just think of that. So there's a part of a guitar, and they would use that to finish, if that was a guitar making factory, use that to finish the guitar next week, next month, next year, whatever. So it's anything that they have in the warehouse is technically called working capital, right? So there's some rebar there, okay, there's some engines for a car factory. Something else that is very important, even if it's a finished good, okay, even if it's finished cars, that is considered working capital. Now, when they sell it, it's disinvestment. When they add to it, it's investment, but we're not worried too much about that now. Now, social capital refers to assets which are owned by society in general, okay? Assets owned by society. So what are we talking about? Well, a public road, a public hospital, or a public park, okay? Essentially, that's it. Now, it is important to note at this moment that money itself is not considered capital. Okay, we've got the definition. It's the physical and the human part. Okay, it's the things that we've built, or the knowledge that we have built in our minds. Money is the means by which capital can be purchased, or by means that you can divert resources into the production of capital. So you would pay CAT to buy a digger off them, and then CAT would pay people to create all the different parts necessary for them to make a digger. Okay. In the long run, a country cannot increase its output of goods and services, the amount of goods and services in a country, which defines how rich a country is, because it increases our consumption, by printing more money. And that is true in the long run. A country needs to produce more goods and services in order to have a higher standard of living, consume more for its residents. Okay, so more goods and services to have a higher standard of living. Now look at this. Looks like a tough life. I hope this is a free human being. This person has very little factors of production available to them. Okay? Very non-productive. So therefore, not because of laziness, because of a lack of quality factors of production. Now therefore, my point is thusly, the amount these three human beings can produce is not as high as somebody that would be mining like this. The reason this exists in richer countries because of the existence of capital. Capital has made them able to produce more. Again, we see a number of people working incredibly hard in fields, working probably long hours in the hot sun. Okay, the human effort is probably huge, and even in spite of all the effort that they give, because of a lack of capital, they are not going to be able to produce as much as these guys are here. Very important. Okay, what makes these guys more productive than the previous? The amount of capital. Therefore, without quality and quantity, efficiently used capital, we have situations like this versus situations like this. All right, the difference between them is capital. So one intelligent question should be, well, how do you make capital? That is for another video. All I want you to, this is literally the next one, all I want you to do is understand this. In order to be able to produce more, a great way, as far as I can see in all my studies of economics, the long run given by the Robert Solow model of long run economic growth is the quantity of capital per worker. Okay, a country needs to add to its capital stock. This means that each worker has more capital. When each worker has more capital, each worker becomes more productive. When each worker becomes more productive, more is made in the economy. When more is made in the country or the economy, more can be consumed. And this means that on average, everyone is richer. The defining feature of capital is that it makes labour more efficient. That is exactly what we need more of in order to enjoy a higher standard of living and for our children to have a better life or a higher standard of living than we have ourselves. Okay, guys, thank you very much. I'll save that for the next video.